Assalamu alaikum guys. In this video, we'll talk about Laravel Pulse package, which is for monitoring your application in aggregation and also for tracking queries, cache, slow queries, and slow requests. And as we can see here, we have multiple cards. And if you want to try it, because this package is under or in beta version right now, if you want to try it, first of all, you will open the composer.json file. Here our composer, and for the last two options, minimum stability, we will set its value to beta instead of stable, right? And also set prefer stable to true. After that, you will follow the commands by using composer require and publishing the service provider, and then you will run migrate. And after migration here, you will notice that we have three tables. Starts with pulse for aggregates, entries, and values, and we will see. After that, we can publish the config file. Actually, it's recommended to run this command also for manipulating the configuration of this package, and then you can access to the control panel of this package here. As we can see, our server/pulse, and now anyone can access to this page. If you want to customize or create authorization, you can open your app service provider or auth service provider here. In any service provider you want, actually, let's write it in auth service provider. And in the boot method, you can use this get like this. Let me call the classes and the user, right? And now, for example, user ID must equal to 1 if he want to access to /pulse. If I back and refresh again, action is unauthorized, right? But now I am user ID number 2. Now I can access it super easy. And also, if you want to manipulate the view of this control panel here, we can see from publishing the dashboard, Pulse dashboard, and you will find this dashboard blade here inside resources, vendor Pulse, and here is the dashboard, right? Super easy. Now let's discover this package together. First of all, we have here the application usage in the last hour, and we can see the top 10 users who making requests or visiting the page. So now I logged in as Ahmed, and if I open this page or refresh, now I made a request. If I back and check here, we can see it catches automatically, right? But because I run this command, I will stop it. And if I back, I visit this page 2 times, back and send a request again, it didn't upload it or update it automatically. Now refresh, and as we can see here, the number of visiting or requests has been updated, and now I am in the one of the top 10 users. Back and refresh again, check, and as we can see, it stores them, right? Then it checks the queues that runs. Let's skip it for now. And here's the cache in last hour. So how does it work? If I open my routes here, and for example, when I open the page or dashboard route, I will save a cache and put a value key user 1 as an example, and I will save it as Ahmed, right? Back and save, refresh. Now the request has been saved and the cache also has been updated. If I try to get this cache get user 1, refresh, and as we can see here, a cache has 1 hits, and it returns a value, right? And it works, which means there is no null values. If I back and check again, I get the cache here again, no problem. Back and see, the cache has 2 hits and no misses or no null values returns. If I back and clear my cache, artisan clear, cache clear, okay, and if I try to get the value again, it will return null because I removed or truncated the cache. Now, as we can see here, user has 3 hits, but 1 not null and 1 null because the cache has been cleared, right? After that, we have a card here called slow requests for requests that take more than 1 second. If I back here and I will stop it, and I will say sleep for 2 seconds, back and refresh, we notice the page takes time to load. Back here to our slow requests and refresh, we can see here this request or this route takes 2 seconds to load, and it happens for 1 time. If I back and refresh again, another 2 seconds, refresh the page, and as you can see happened 2 times, and total here again, or the duration that takes is 2 seconds, right? If I remove it, now it works quickly and nothing happened, right? And here for exception card, for the exception that has been thrown. So if I back, for example, and I make a port here, and this code must be integer, as we can see, and I will pass a message. Instead of int, I will say test, back and refresh. As we can see here, the parameter must be integer, type int here. If I back and see, we can see type error in the web.php file in line 31, as we can see here in our web file. Or even we can throw if, for example, true, and I will throw an exception here, generic one, with error to test. As an example, back and refresh, here exception, error to test, and if I back here and refresh, I get it also, right? Happened 1 time. If I back and refresh, I received this exception here for 2 times, right? And it happens 6 seconds ago. Now let's move back again to slow queries, and if we open the pulse.php inside config folder, we will notice here each card or each filter has its own configuration. So for example, for slow queries, this one is responsible for slow queries here, and we can see this threshold, which is for the queries that takes more than 1 second, it must report it as slow query, right? But let's move it to only 100 milliseconds, and here I have a long query, this one, and I will put it here, and I will execute this query. Now back and refresh, take some seconds. If I refresh here, I will see this query takes 174 milliseconds, which means it exceeds the threshold here, which is 100 milliseconds, and it happens also in routes web.php file on line 38. Back again and check. Here's this query for this get method, right? Now let's take it back to take at most 1 second, refresh, and also works correctly. As we can see, last 10 cards here is for slow jobs and slow outgoing requests, which happens when using the HTTP client. Just if you remember HTTP client here, if I make any request that takes long time to do or to get data or to perform any action, if it takes more than 1 second, it will be reported here also, right? And the same for jobs, and also the database here that stores the data. And if you notice, it stores everything that happens here. And one last important thing here is about sampling. So for example, if your application has multiple or many requests, high traffic, you can use sampling here. And as we can see, by default, Pulse capture every single action about requests. Here we will see you may optionally adjust the sample rate. If we back to the sample rate, you can see or setting the threshold to be 10% of requests to be processed, right, or recorded. If I back here and inside Pulse configuration, we will see this sample rate for each card here or for each record, right? By default, ones mean every single request. So instead of 1, for example, I will set it to 0.1 or 0.1, and the same also for user requests. If I back and check again, you will notice it now has this symbol, which means approximately, right? And the value also has been increased because it is approximation, right? But if I back and take it to 1 again, and also this, I will take it to 1, refresh, and here it displays the real value. So this is good for high traffic application. You can also separate the connection of Pulse because it works with my same database that I use in my application .env here. As you can see, it uses the learn database. But what if you want to change the connection or make it using another database? It's easy. Just set this variable Pulse DB connection, and here, as we can see, it takes the same connection by default of the database, but also we need to create this connection inside our databases configuration. I created the same as MySQL, right? I called it Pulse, and I want to make it using the Pulse database, which I has already prepared here, right? And if I back and check again, I used the same key Pulse here that I created in the database, this one. If I back and check again, now because it's empty, this Pulse database, no records, and if I back and refresh, everything started again here. I have an error. Okay, let's remove it. And as we can see, it works for the new database. You can also run a command called Pulse check to check the status of your server, CPU, and memories, and so on. It takes some time to work. As we can see here, CPU, memory that I use because I'm using my local, it uses all of my memory, and also the storage, as we can see here. And also a last thing for Ingest, to use cache for accelerating the performance of Pulse. You can use this Ingest driver as Redis here for caching, and you must run Pulse work here, PHP artisan Pulse work. Now it starts work, and everything has been loaded automatically again here. Let's remove this approximation. It's a great package actually for monitoring your general performance, and also there is a note here if you want to track the individual performance or debugging individual. Here you can use Laravel Telescope because it's for every single action here. Yeah, that's it. If you found it useful, support me by clicking on like, share, and subscribe. See you next video.